Welcome to Lady Cadence Island, your stop for decoration tips, examples, spotlights from other islands, game basics, and more. Now this video is an update from my original 5 keys to decorating your island. The 5 keys are the same, but I thought I'd show you the process of actually redecorating a couple of spaces using these concepts so that you can see the whole process in action. Now let's do a quick tour of my island as it is currently so you can kind of see the basics of these 5 keys. Now the first key is to zone your space. Now this is talking about if you are doing your entire island or sections of your island in a thematic way. So this could mean you either zone the whole island based on that. For example, I have my neighborhood, kind of neighborhood items or buildings that would go together, like the school, hospital, firehouse, homes, little shops, the vineyard, and then we've got our farm area that all kind of goes together with the alpine set and a lake and homes along the side of it, the water. So all this back here would be kind of that natural kind of neighborhood, small town, suburban feel to it, as well as kind of farmland. So that is that section of my island. Over here we have what I'm calling the Orchid Island School of Horticulture. So this is kind of like a university type feel with all these extra plant oriented buildings as well, the greenhouses, etc. And then of course down in my main section would be a main town feel with the giant estate area being the central point. So these are how I have zoned out my spaces on my island. Now you might zone your spaces differently. You might want little sections for each seasonal set and have them completely separated in their own little sections, or you might have a completely different theme. Regardless, zone your spaces so that they have their own unique theme going on for the individual space or for your whole island as a whole. Second one was to make workable paths. Now I focus especially on the type of path that actually is connecting to the building. For example, you see this has that same type of path already in the corner there. So I find where buildings line up, where their paths are naturally, and then add a path that looks similar to that so that it all flows. The key to this part is if you were to walk on your island as in real life, how can you get to one place to another in a realistic way, in a beautiful way, in a way that would make sense logically? Because you wouldn't want to be confused in real life to know where a path ends or goes, or be overcrowded in that way. Now, the other thing to consider with paths as you're doing them, these workable paths, is make them match with what they're going against. As I said, some of the buildings have pathways already connected. Some of these, like this path down here that comes with the beautification, is that stone path. So I've decided to put a stone one there that connects into a regular path. You can also use different tile that would match better, perhaps, or a dirt road that would kind of match better, and then fade it up. The other thing I like to do is soften my path edges when possible. Here's another one where I've connected some different styles of paths. Most of these are going to be the brick one because it matches the buildings that they come with. Again, see, that matches with the building, but we've got a dirt path here because it matches with this house. And what I've done to combine them is to use a tree in the middle to soften up that edge so you don't have a harsh ending of one path joining into the other. Same with this. The dirt path flows better into these decorations because some of these come on that. That's a dirt path. This is the dirt path. So I have it going in, hiding behind here, the end of it, and then of course going into this gate. It finishes there. Now over here we've got stone paths, the alpine set. These work beautifully together back to back because they look like they wind in together. But of course I wanted those by stone which also matches the stone around the little bench and pond area. This is a path leading from this section all the way up into here. So again, you'd be able to travel from one part of your island to the other with no trouble. And here's a combination of stone and the brick paths to match the adjoining or adjacent stone that's around it and all these little buildings. These paths all connect, even down to the dock. I've got a tree here. It looks like you would just walk behind it in the grass to get to this section, but it does connect to this road here. Again, a tree is covering the join, so it matches and it doesn't look as harsh. And then I've got flower paths wherever I can get them, because this goes to another point, which is to increase flower count when you're able to. The stars to go with the cinema. These archways which match, and then I've got some of these tileways that are made into paths over here in this section. All right, so that was second point, making workable paths. Combining decorations. This concept is the idea of making little bunches or combinations of buildings, trees, bushes, and then leaving space around them for your eye to kind of be able to breathe a little bit. And then it draws focus to certain areas. Now, these are some buildings I have liked to combine. The tea house and the salon. I don't think I'll ever split these up. I love this combination. And then I usually try to find one more thing to go behind it. In this case, I've got a purple pavilion, and I've hidden it behind it so that you don't see the little lady, because I have several of these everywhere, but it would look funny if you saw that same exact scene. However, just seeing the top with a little purple coming out makes a nice combination. And I've done the same thing with these trees here, packed in really tight, but then leaving space for pathways and the ground here and these borders so that it looks a little bit more landscaped, as if it would be in real life. Other combinations I really like are the estate, the summer house, the bathhouse, getting those close in together because the style looks very similar. This Venetian set is easy to plug in together because you've got these vibrant villas here, 2 of them, and when you kind of stick them behind other things like the pretty palazzo and by this pizza party, it all just goes together really nicely, and it makes a nice combination. Here's a nice combination of adding a corner building right up against another building and then having these all side by side. They look like kind of a strip mall idea of how the buildings are set up. They save you space, so they help you to get the flower count you need by reducing the space so that you can have more things added in, but they also just look nice combined together. Same goes with this firehouse and hospital. These combine really nicely together, look like they go together well. And then of course over here, some of these buildings look like they go together nicely as well. Thing to consider is flower value. This is the biggest thing so you can progress through the game. I have chosen to get some high flower count items and space them around the island in ways to increase my flower count and then still not have things packed in too much, so there's space again, so that you can use these little 1 flower, 2 flower, 5 flower tiles and be able to do that and still progress. Some of the smaller items or medium size would be like this rotunda. I love this. You can put this in several different places. It's worth 1,000 flowers. I love to get 1 square items that are higher. Usually seasonal sets will have these type of things for you, like these hummingbird havens. They're 110 for a single square, which is great. These are 120. This is from the previous Venice set. You've got some other ones here that are 75, and you can hide these. I've showed this how to do this in other videos. You can hide them behind buildings if you need to. use the space without losing your flower count and still kind of bump that up a little bit. Some of these 100. Anytime you get 100 or more for a single square is great. And then of course your big items you're going to want to do that with are the fire engine for 2400. I would only get one of those so it doesn't look funny. You can have two, but just arrange them nicely around your firehouse in a way that would make sense. This play area, park playtime 2400 as well. This one you can have doubles of, just split it up around your island or other islands. This greenhouse is the other one that's 2400. So these would be the items you would want to get multiples of and then spread them nicely around your island, and it will really help to boost your flower count. Even little things like this are good. It's 120 for a single square. So those are items you're going to definitely want to get to be boosting up your flower count. And if you get those big items and kind of use those as a base, you can go around them with smaller flower count items and you still are able to progress and not have to pack things in so tightly. All right, and then finally, plan ahead. I'm always planning ahead for the next seasonal set. For me, this means on my other island currently, I am currently planning ahead for the German set, and that's going to go on my Laurel Island. So I've got space, lots of space here ready. This is all already decorated in preparation, but I've got lots of space ready to go. I have some things here just temporarily. They won't stay here temporarily, so that I can be ready for that German set. Now, this is not the only island I'm prepping or working on. While I'm doing that, I'm also clearing space on my willow, and I am using this for my tropical scenes. Now, I have kind of got a main theme going at the beginning here as I'm clearing it, and then stuff, of course, in the back is packed in as I'm clearing mist, but I'll be clearing this out today. I only need one more star to complete it, and I'm just going to keep continuing to scoot these items down. All the winter stuff, which won't live here, but I'm using it for flower count now. This is how I'm planning ahead. Just keep scooting that further and further down because my next island is going to be Snowdrop, so that will all go there perfectly. And I have some other items I don't really use other than for flower count. These just stay kind of continually being pushed to the edge of my islands as I open up more space. Eventually they'll go on my storage ship, but for now they work to help me increase flower count and to keep progressing in the game. And it allows me to keep my main islands really beautiful, so a little at a time each island is becoming exactly what I want it to be. All right, let's actually think about redecorating this space a little bit. Now, what I'm considering doing is putting my estate, my summer house, my bathhouse, all of this Venetian set, I'm considering swapping that out with my items all up in here. Now I want to keep my same flower count, but I'm just bored a little bit with the decorations. Plus I want to show you how you can still keep these same considerations as you actually do the decorating process. So I'm not doing an entire island overhaul. I'm going to be keeping the back part of my island as it is for now, but I am going to be doing a large amount of transitioning. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is actually put things onto my storage boat. So I will go ahead and clear out this space of my island. I will stack my 3 square building items all together so that I have space to work with. And then I'm going to arrange those items where I want them to go. Go ahead and connect some paths and then fill in with the rest of the items. Now this is a slow process to do this. I'm not going to show you the entire process because you'd be bored out of your mind, but we'll do little pieces at a time to kind of show you the mindset of it. So the first thing again that I'm going to do is clear the space. So we're going to go through all of the little items at once, and I try to do it in sections. So let's go ahead and do all my little flowers at the same time. Now you have to be careful as you're doing this. You don't take from a section you don't plan on changing up in the moment. But we're going to go ahead and, oh, see, and it already jumped to that. I'm not sure why it would do that. Jump to my paths. I do wish they would give you a better way to organize your decorations on here. I think it would be most helpful if they were to do that. Now I'm going to scoot down and go ahead and get all of these at one time. So I've cleared out most of the big stuff. I have left some of these items to the side here, some of these trees and buildings. This little section I want to kind of keep where it's at. But then other things I've pretty much cleared out, and now I have to decide how I'm going to zone these individual spaces. Now, like I said, I've already decided I want the university kind of area down here, kind of town area down here, but I need to think about how I'm going to position those items. And a lot of that has to do with the paths that come naturally off the sides of the building, how the buildings are positioned, the angles that they're at, and then, of course, what I'm having around them, like how much space they take up. So that's something I have to consider. These I've got packed in tight. They won't stay that way. This is not going to stay there. But you notice how this is angled to the right, and so is this. So you want them either on the right side or on the far left, angling in towards other buildings, but being in the middle doesn't work as well. So that's just something to consider as you're doing it. And now one of the main reasons that I actually did decide to redo these two sections is that I finally got enough gold bars in order to get this to the golden facade, this amphitheater. And I don't care for the amphitheater. The scale is way off. It doesn't really go with many other things. So I wanted to get that final one so that I could switch in between and downgrade it and possibly hide it. Now, I've seen on some other people's islands how they have even placed it right directly in front of a building almost, so it looks like it goes into it, and I'm considering doing something similar. Someone had it where it was going right into their station, and they weren't using theirs as a station either. It was more of a pavilion, which I thought was kind of cool. So that's the main reason I switched things around, because I wasn't thrilled with how the amphitheater looked or how it was crowded around that area with the Venice set. Now, so my space, again, how I'm zoning it is I'm going to have a town area here, and then kind of my university gardens area as well. So I have to think through how that's all going to be. Now, I do like to use the train station as kind of the entryway into it because it has the orchid sign right in the front, the archway, so it looks like a little grand entryway kind of. And what I do to hide this is I try to put a big tree behind this part so that the tower is not as obtrusive, kind of fades into the background a little bit. I might scoot all of these things back because, again, what I have to consider is what else I'm putting in here. I'm going to be putting in the other greenhouses. I probably will put that fountain down here so that when you go to on the grounds of this School of Horticulture, it's going to be gardeny, lots of things to look at and look through. And then I need to consider, again, the pathway connections for these buildings and how I would want them to connect and what I want to highlight. So that's what I have to consider next. Now up here we're going to have the Venice set, and this I am in my own mind imagining kind of a big resort feel to it. So you would go here, and it's a thematic resort, so that's why you've got the Venice items, but you could go here to stay if you want. You could go here to relax and enjoy things, as well as have a little market area to buy things at. So that's what this section is going to be. But this part, the zonings time, that probably is going to take the most time. And it's the most important part because you have to really think through how everything will look and connect well together. And it goes along with the second point of the workable paths because I need to make sure that my buildings in my zone space are able to have paths connecting. So in other words, I wouldn't want this right up against the side where you see this path here needs a space to go. Now you don't have to use that side path, but you would want to, if you wanted it to the side, scoot it just slightly so you could put a tree or something there to cover up that space so you're not seeing it. So the the workable paths and the space being zoned are two really sides of the same coin. And they're so important. It's the most important thing, and that's why I have them listed first, because if you get that down, your zoned spaces and then your paths, then the rest is just kind of the icing to decorate all around it and make it look pretty. So I'm going to continue to work on this, and then I will come back when I've got my main things where they belong. Now, of course, they will probably change up again as I work on it. It's a process, but we'll kind of get them in their main area how I want them to be. All right, so I've got some of it a little more zoned out here. I've kind of got a little circle area here where my campus is. I want to kind of keep it all together in one spot, with the buildings all kind of facing in towards the center. I've got this tower here to kind of hide that train station tower thing there. What do you call that? The crossing kind of thing. So it takes away from the idea that it is a train station, and again it looks more like an entryway pavilion. Now I decided to move my library to the front as more of a grand entrance with these two paths coming in, and as you can see I've started with my paths kind of working around to make sure they all go, and as you do your paths you're going to start to change things around too to make sure they match. For instance, the square needs to match up so the pathways for all of these buildings can line up. So like I need to put in a path from this museum over, and it has to line up with the square so it doesn't zigzag over in a weird way. And that's kind of like my anchor point to put in the other items. And I need space, of course, so that there's space around this tower and it's not all too crowded in. I've connected some of these buildings together to save me space and to make it look like it's a larger building. I had these two closer together, and then I realized once I put the path in it looked too squished, so I scooted it over to the right, this clock tower, just a tiny bit to give myself more space. And then you see what I've done with the amphitheater. I've tried to hide it back here. I'm going to put in more trees and such to kind of mask that even more than it is currently, in hopes that it kind of just fades off into the distance, because I don't want that to be highlighted, but I do appreciate getting coins from it. So, you know, you can't take it out, so you might as well make use of it. So here we are again, just the process of zoning things out and then adding in your paths. It takes time, but it's totally worth it to make a final good design. Now this section I haven't figured out yet. I do know I'm going to have these buildings, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pull these down. I probably will, more towards the front area, the town area. We'll see. So continuing to play around with things until I get it just exactly how I want it to be. All right, I think I am finished. Now I use the word finish loosely because I always make little changes along the way, especially after a really big redesign. But again, here are the changes that I've made. I zoned my space first, as you could see, and I primarily focused on getting this section in an organized way that I wanted to, because it is kind of like my little campus area. And I did wall that off so it feels like it's its own separate little section. So I've got 3 sections down here. This whole first part is kind of the town part entryway as you come in. Lots of shops, clubs, restaurants, things you can go and do and see. And there's lots of green grass, which a lot of people think is crazy to do, but you can completely continue to move on because, as I've mentioned before, one of the keys is using high flower count items wisely, and that means often hiding some high flower count items that you can't sell or that you just don't want to see behind other things. And I've done that specifically with a few things. Now I can't see it. These little guys are one of them. There are 75 flowers for a 1 square item, and I've got about 10 of these, but they're just hidden all around behind places so you don't see them and they're not overwhelming your space. So that's a huge thing that I've done. So I've got my paths, of course, after I zoned out my space, got my big buildings in place first, then I went around and connected all my paths. And as you do this, you're going to be shifting things slightly. This little flowering area, I kept shifting around a lot, changed my path around a lot just to get what would look best and fit in the space the best. So there was definitely lots of moving, lots of shifting things around. I did, as I said, keep some of this the same, but I added another set of steps here, so this looks like actually an even higher hill than it did previously. But it's kind of a cute little lookout area where you could sit and eat, maybe get your food to go from one of these restaurants and go and enjoy it. Of course, I always like to have bordering flowers around the edges of paths and buildings, combining things tight together, some of these buildings, so you have plenty of space. Again, I'm using things that I don't want to necessarily feature, but kind of tucking them in behind other things. This is a building, but it just makes this building look like it's bigger or longer as one instead of two separate buildings. Combine several of these together. Again, I'm putting things in places where they distract from other things like that big railroad thing, so it doesn't look so prominent and it doesn't look like a railroad station anymore. These buildings are connected. We've got colors that kind of go together, styles that go together. I have this checkered grass here, which I would not have used except for the fact that I've got two items I've won through Detectives Needed or Fairground Fortune, the little couple walking and this lady with her baby carriage. That fit on that, and I don't want to only have one little section, so I made it as if this is its own little section on the campus that's got that tiled look, because again, this is like a gardening school, so they're learning all of these beautiful tips and tricks and how to landscape, so that's what we're just pretending that it is. And then up here I have scooted my Venice items. I've gotten rid of a lot of my water tiles, and I've actually moved some of them back to make it look like just a big pool area for this estate in the summer house. They're all combined into one kind of resort area. And then of course this down here would be, again, more restaurants, places where you could go and eat and shop, get some fresh market items. But it doesn't take away from the whole theme of the island, where it's not too drastically different. Doesn't look like you've gone to a whole separate country. But that, of course, is my style of decorating. Everyone has a different, unique style, and some of you guys like to have your own little sections on your island that are completely different from one another, which make really cute little vignettes that you can take pictures of and have. So, all different. Got your paths working here. I did combine the stone and the rock ones so that they look a little nicer going to these docks and not quite so harsh of a break point there. Got this path hidden behind here and all my little arches back. Now I did use a lot less tile as well, but I've gone ahead and put some of that over on my other island, because remember, the final point of this is to always be planning ahead. I didn't want to sell a lot of that tile, so instead I have pulled it over to Laurel, because this is going to be that German set, and those German buildings actually have tile on them, so they'll all fit right in here, and I've got this space ready to go. Now I need 467 more flowers, but that's fine because I've got a couple things going on. First of all, I'm saving up coins for the next set. Got lots of space to put things. I also have some things building right now, so I had gotten another of these villas because it goes nicely with my Mexico set. I think I showed you guys in another video how you can combine the Mexico set with the Venice set, and they go nicely together. So this is going to be 800 flowers coming up soon. And then also I am sending Jack out twice a week usually on trips, and almost exclusively for flowers. I'm going to get another 300 flowers from him soon. I just got 100 flowers last night from playing Club Mysteries, which I like to do. So I am not concerned about earning flowers. I've got plenty in the works, and again, I'm saving up so I can get all those beautiful German set items, which will of course give me more flowers. I have almost opened up one more spot on my willow island, so I will continue to kind of shove some things back there. I'm thinking I will probably get another one of these play sets because, again, they're worth 2,400 flowers, so that would look really cute. I think with my German set on the other island, I might put that in. But anyway, this is the updated look, and I hope that helps you to know how you can decorate and redecorate your space in a really eye-catching way by really zoning out your space, having separate areas for each thing that you want to highlight, making workable paths once you've got those spaces kind of clearly delineated. Put your paths in next. Combine those buildings and decorations in ways that they draw attention to highlight specific things, like your buildings here, your trees can be bunched together. You've got little kind of moments around that you're trying to see. Make use of those high flower count items, as I mentioned, so that you can alternate with the lower flower count items that just really help your island to look pretty. And then, of course, always be planning ahead for the next seasonal set if you have not opened up all of your decorations for the next set of decorations that are going to be available to you. And just always as you open up space as well. So, hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe so you can see all the videos that I've got and spotlights of other people's islands who decorate much differently but have really creative and clever ways of decorating their islands. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.